Hello and welcome to another episode of Respect the Mic podcast.
This is the podcast where we talk about Asian things that matter to Asian people. As always, I'm your host, Michael Lam.
And I'm your boy, Michael Trong. You may have noticed that the setup looks a little bit different. The quality's not quite there. Using a 2 megapixel camera. I do apologize. Don't worry about it. Stay with us. If you're listening on Spotify, on Apple, thank you for tuning in again. And I hope it is sounding fantastic. We got a different episode kind of today, but before we kick into that, we just want to let you guys know we really do appreciate you for listening. If you kindly could head over to Apple Podcast and leave us a 5-star review, and on YouTube, make sure you leave a comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Thank you very much. We do really want to make a push for this and really grow the community that we have here. So we do have a special episode. It's a Zoom special. I say special, but it's just to cover up for the technical difficulties. Lam, tell us a bit about our guest, man.
Yeah, so we've got Viv Yau. She has her own podcast, but Where Are You From? Very interesting podcast where she talks about sort of BBC issues and issues about racism and culture and things like that. So if you've got time, give that a listen. But we managed to get her on to talk about a lot of different things. It was like a really interesting talk. We had a lot of fun, didn't we?
Yeah, man. There's a lot of banter there.
Cool. So without further ado, let's just go straight into it.
All right. So, hi, we've got Viv here with us today. Do you prefer Viv? Is it Vivian Yau? Is it just Viv Yau?
It's anything really. You can call me Viv. Call me Viv. People do call me Vivian, but it's people who don't really know me, to be honest. And I go by Viv on like social media platforms.
Oh, different names than that.
Does it feel really formal if someone calls you Vivian? Like you feel like you're in trouble? Or
if I'm in trouble, it's Yao Hoi Lam. It's my Chinese name. So yeah, my family don't really call me Vivian, to be honest. It's either Viv or Lam Lam.
Lam Lam.
Lam Lam.
Oh, so is that like the Lam for sing Lam, like Lam, Lam? Is that how you write it?
Like Wong Muk Muk, you'll write it as.
Yeah,
that one.
Oh, okay, sweet. So your first name is like my last name.
I wonder whether it was the same.
Oh, yeah. Madness.
How funny. Madness.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Viv. I know we've been on your podcast and we have actually done all these familiarities, but for our listeners, tell us a little bit about yourself, because you're doing some really, really good stuff in the community.
Thank you. So I am Viv. I'm from Manchester. Well, I'm actually from Warrington, but I just tell Londoners that I'm from Manchester just because it's so much easier and no one knows where Warrington is. And I own a influencer marketing agency, and the aim of the agency is to focus on being inclusive, and that's kind of through the marketing campaigns that we work with, through the influencers that we represent. And then I also, sorry, my throat's gone, I just completely closed up as we start speaking. And so I also started a petition with 5 other women recently after we saw how the media were depicting East and Southeast Asian people in anything related to coronavirus. So that was about over 2 months ago. And it was after I was complaining to media outlets like The Guardian to basically say, like, you need to stop doing this. This is harming our community. And I was receiving really like gaslighting responses, basically saying, no, it's completely fine. It's not discriminatory. It's not doing anything. Here's 10 articles where we haven't used East and Southeast Asian people. And if anything, it's a good thing because it's shown that you little Asians are like displaying good behavior because you're wearing your face masks and all this kind of stuff. So no, it's completely fine. And it was obviously a white man who was saying that. So that really like sparked an inner rage in me. And so I took to change.org and started a petition, and so far it's nearly reached, it's over 14,000 signatures now. Jeez. Which is way beyond, I know, it's way beyond what I ever thought it would be. And so when we got to under 3,000 signatures, which at that stage, even that was like amazing, we I spoke with Daniel York-Lowe, who's this like actor, activist, writer, producer.
Shout to Daniel York.
We love Daniel York-Lowe. He's incredible. And he spoke with Sarah Owen, who is a British East Asian MP, to essentially raise a petition with her. And then she essentially took it to Parliament and raised it in the House of Commons and basically said, this petition has been started by Viv Yau. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe my name has been said in Parliament to all these white people. It's so crazy.
That's absolutely incredible.
It's just like it just shows like the community and how important community is, and like people who actually understand what it is that we're going through. Like without Daniel saying something and having his connections, and without Sarah understanding the impact of this, we wouldn't have got it raised in Parliament so quickly. Yeah. And so that was raised by Sarah, and then she has been promised a meeting with Victoria Atkins, the Minister for Safeguarding. The latest update is that she has been turned away at every kind of department, saying that this isn't my department, it's not my issue. So now we're kind of the next stage is we're trying to put pressure on the government to secure this meeting that we want to have with them. And also we're launching a platform called Besea.n, which stands for Britain's East and Southeast Asian Network. And essentially it will be housed on a website. And the aim of this is to counteract all the negative representation that we've seen on the media and bring more positive representation to East and Southeast Asian people in Britain, because there's so many of us doing cool things and we want to celebrate what we're doing. It's not just, it's not just all the bad stuff that's going on, but actually all the great things that are happening, like your podcasts, like more grassroots movements that are coming up, more Instagram pages talking about Asian culture. It's all helping changing perceptions. And so we would really want to use Besea.n as a platform to build that, really. So that's what I've been doing the past few months now. And yeah.
Wow.
I'm so busy. So much going on.
Well, it's not just me. Well. Oh, thank you. Well, it's not just me, thank God. Like if it was just me by myself, I would have given up like after week one. And thank God we've got a community of people who are able to support each other. And it's the first time that I felt like I've had a just people that who understand my experience and also want to do something about it as well. Like I have my family and my friends, and like whilst they're sympathetic and they understand, that's one thing, and that's really important. But also having people who are like, right, what are we actually going to do about this, and how can we action this, is another thing. So I think without the support of just everyone pitching in, like people just sharing on social media, commenting, liking, sharing the petition, that all contributes to some form of activism and change. So thank God for other people.
Yeah. We can only ask for people to get more and more involved and voice their opinions more, because that's, you're right. Because I mean, East Asians typically, and we've said this on the show, it's like we have had, a culture of just putting our head down and just going along with whatever the story is. But we definitely need to stand up and make a change. But you're quite the activist. Like, was this the biggest thing that set you off, or were you doing anything else before this as well that was, fighting for change?
See, this is the thing. Like, I'm a baby activist, so I've worked in marketing my whole life. I'm so new to this. It's like I hadn't done any form of activism. I thought for some reason, like, to be an activist, you had to have been doing it for a long time and, like, going out there protesting. And I don't know what qualifications you would need to be an activist, or do a degree in politics or something. I don't know. I studied marketing at uni, and then I have worked in advertising and marketing, and that's all I know how to do. And then before that, I was working in takeaways, and that's all the work experience that I ever had. And so I'm so new to this, and it's interesting that, like, I even, like, find myself saying, like, I'm an activist quite strange, because I don't feel like I would brand myself as one. I'm just someone who is sick of seeing my community being impacted, and I want to do something about it. But I think from this, I've learned from other activists who have been doing it for a long time. You know, there's lots of people who head up Chinese community centres who have been doing it for years and years and years and years, and young Gen Z activists who have been protesting on the streets, who've been taking to social media to talk about all sorts of change. Yeah, and then so I'm learning as I go, essentially. You know, I wouldn't say that I've been doing this for a long time in the slightest.
Do you ever feel like there was a moment where it sort of changed for you, where, you know, you had it in the back of your mind and these were things you thought of sort of not properly, but just every now and again, but then there was a moment where you thought, where things clicked and you was like, okay, something needs to be done. And now I want to be a part of this whole movement or whatever it is, or actually being actionable to any activist cause or things like that. Was there a moment that you thought, okay, now's the time? Or was it just a kind of gradual growth?
Yeah, I definitely felt there was a significant moment. I think, like, for me, there's always been something bubbling under the surface. Like, my mum's always said that I'm like churn hay, which means like I just never stop going on about something. And like I always saw that as like a bad thing. And like I would always, if I saw any like injustice, like within our family or like with friends, I feel like I would be the one to usually say something and like embarrass my family, because I'd be like, no, you can't do this. And like I think when it comes to like just being in the workplace, I've always worked in like white dominated environments, and I notice a lot of microaggressions, a lot of casual jokes, and like, you know, I would take part in that too, and that would be something that I was doing to try and like uphold to white culture. I was just trying to fit in, essentially, and so I would be a part of that too. And then it got to the point where I started learning more about like intersectionality when it came to racism, feminism, all sorts of issues within the world, and kind of really looking at like my own identity. And it really kind of sparked off more so, I think, last year when I read Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race, Rennie Edo-Lodge. I read that last year, and then I started thinking about my own identity from that book, and how like just there was such a lack of British East Asian books out there that spoke to me. And I was like really searching for it, and I couldn't find anything. And then just speaking to a few people, and then seeing how just I couldn't see any of me in the media. I just started thinking about that more, and then like searching for like podcasts to relate to. So the one that I could relate to the most was Asian Boss Girl. Like it's 3 Asian American women, and that's the one that I could relate the most to. And then I found your podcast earlier this year.
Shouts.
And then I was like, shouts, the OGs. And then I was just like, why is there not more of this? And so when it came to lockdown is when obviously we had loads of free time, and I started to like just think about, what can I do with my spare time? And so I just started my own podcast, But Where Are You From? And it's basically tongue-in-cheek title, because I'm sure we've all been asked that at some stage 100%. In our lives. And I started that as really just like a creative outlet for me, and to really discover who I am. And the growth within that time for when I first started that podcast in terms of like how I identify now, I feel like has been really significant. And I think that's been largely down to movements like BLM, which has really kind of like just got me thinking about racial structure and how we are all affected by it. You know, it serves no one but white people. And then from that, obviously COVID, and just hearing more anecdotal stories in terms of, you know, friends and family, that kids like having people come up to them in the schoolyard and being like, oh, do you eat cats and bats and all this stuff? And they're like young little kids.
Crazy.
And just noticing how it's so insidious and it just happens everywhere. And then seeing it in the news, and then seeing how the media show all of us together. I think it just all compounded into like this one night where after I received that response from The Guardian, and then I was just like, right, it's enough, like something needs to change, and why can't I be the one to do something about it? Like I can't see many other people saying something, let's just fucking say something. And so I just took to social media, started ranting on there, started the petition, asked my family and my cousins and stuff to just like sign the petition so I could get 5 signatures so it could be registered on the website. And then it just kind of snowballed. And then from that moment came finding people who actually stood up for change. So I think it was like always something that was bubbling inside of me. And once I started learning about my own identity and what it meant to be British born Chinese, that's when I started to actually uncover just how big this issue is, and how there's
It's
lots
deep.
of marginalized communities that need a lot of help. So yeah, it's been an ongoing process, I think.
It's crazy. And I think trying to find resource about your own identity and how you fit into the sort of the racial structure in the UK is really difficult to find. Like, there really isn't a lot of literature or really anything around. So yeah, I always feel like we need to be the ones to really think about how it works and where it works and kind of define that argument. I definitely think with BLM and the whole George Floyd incident, when that sort of happens, it was like a really triggering moment, like worldwide, right? But then it just kind of forced the conversation of, okay, how do Asians fit into this narrative? Like, how can we support, and how do we naturally fit into this conversation without, because we have to take into account that we're Asian, and sort of, it's not as easy as white people standing up for BLM, just because our history like differs somewhat from that sort of narrative, right? And it's like, historically, Asians and Black people never really sort of really got along, and it was just like, you know, there's so much racism within the Asian community to Black people, and it's like, okay, how do we address this? And it was just like so many difficult conversations and difficult topics that we had to sort of look into and then be like, okay, how really can we be progressive about this from our culture, to stand up to what is obviously a lot of systemic racism towards Black people, and just massive amounts of power towards, you know, the white majority. So yeah, I think it's just been a really like crazy sort of political awakening for myself, and obviously you as well. It was just a really whirlwind period, like, for a lot of us. And I think the fact that so many podcasts are coming out to talk about this, like, only shows that where we've been kind of sleepwalking for the last, you know, how many years, like, it really does feel like the tide is turning. I know I said this on your podcast last time, but it really does feel like now there is an opportunity to grab here to really push on with this change. So yeah, I think it's really great work, the stuff that you're doing. I've been following you a lot on Instagram and Twitter, and it's been inspirational to see the amount of effort that you put in, because a lot of people want to be an activist and have those feelings of, oh, I want to do change and make change, but not enough people actually go out and action it. So it's been really uplifting to see.
Thank you.
So yeah.
Wow, you never talked to me
like,
this nicely, Lamb. Instead,
suck, man.
Yeah, just cussing my hair.
It's just like, you suck.
Honestly, yeah, I totally agree with Lam. You've definitely been kind of a shining light, an example of you know, the way that we should be pushing for more change and for more acceptance. Because yeah, you're right, microaggressions happen so often, that casual racism. I mean, even me, I remember like going through school, like all the mad things I've heard, and you know, pan face, like your face is so flat because you're Chinese, and it's like the most stupidest stuff. And it's like we don't know you know, how the younger generation are now, what they're going through. So it's definitely something that we need to pave the way forward for the next generations to come, because we can't just, yeah, you're right, Lam, we can't be sleepwalking through this, because we really need to change the social situation. Besides all of the
I kind of wanted to talk a bit more about the BESEA network. Is BC network?
Besea.n.
So that's kind of just what empowering sort of like the East Asian community to showcase their talents, or how is that sort of unfolding?
So essentially, we realised that we needed a place to kind of direct people to, because we were getting more people asking us more questions about the petition and how it's affecting everything. And then we were like, okay, how do we want to shape this, and what do we actually want to turn it into? And so we then considered, like, okay, we want to move away from just associating us with coronavirus. We don't want to have the word virus in our name. We don't want to have any kind of negative connotations towards us, and that we don't want to perpetuate it in any way, even though, like, there's lots of organizations who actually are trying to do that and stopping hate crime specifically for that. But we wanted to also do that and widen it up to, like, okay, we want to bring a positive representation to the space. And so a website was like a great way of doing that, and having a social media presence, and essentially using it as like an educational resource, because even like myself, I have so much knowledge gap when it comes to East and Southeast Asian places and people and cultures, and so I think it's a place for everyone to learn, not just East and Southeast Asian people, but anyone who wants to learn more about our different cultures and our differences and our similarities, and also it's a network. So we essentially have created a page where you can add in your details. We create a database of people that we can then use as a network, and we want to be able to build on this with like events and talks and all sorts of things to bring people together, and then also we have a section of the website which is spotlighting different East and Southeast Asian people, and we want this to go across the spectrum. So there's been quite a lot of criticism with a few kind of big Asian like Facebook pages and Instagram pages, where they focus on very much like straight cis East and Southeast Asian people like us, I guess, and also kind of dumb down what being Asian is to just bubble tea and like your parents saying that you've got bad grades kind of thing. And so we want to bring that further to basically shine a light on queer culture in Asian communities, on talking about ableism, talking about all sorts of like issues, intersectionality within our communities too. So we're really mindful of kind of bringing everyone as much as we can into the conversation. So yeah, it's essentially going to be a very positive place, and it was born out of 6 angry Asian women who wanted to do something about it, and from that we're turning it into something positive. But kind of going back to what you were saying with like how like speaking up for change is something we all need to do. I think I've definitely gone through a journey of this where I felt like a lot of anger when it came to my own community of like, why is no one saying anything? Like, this affects you too. Why aren't you saying anything as well? And then like, I think I came to the point where I realized that actually like you can't blame anyone for kind of not wanting to say something, because, you know, we're fearful and we're worried, and like there's so many things that play into it, and also there's the lack of education when it comes to these types of topics. And so like I think it has to start from a place of like, let's educate and let's do this in a positive way before I can start ranting and be like, why are you not sharing this and that, and like getting involved and vocalizing, because like I don't think that's going to help if you kind of try to alienate people.
It's kind of, you're like 10-15 steps ahead of everyone else, and it's trying to bring them to that stage, because obviously you've gone through the education, you know all of this, you know the history, you know the sort of the climate, but they're not quite there yet, so they need that sort of catching up and sort of hand holding. Yeah,
the thing is, I don't know all the history. I don't know all the steps. Like I'm learning as I go. Like I think like, you know, we're never going to be perfect in this world, in this imperfect world. And I think like I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to say things that I shouldn't say, and like still hold like racist thoughts. And there's so many knowledge gaps within my like my own history in terms of like my own like Chinese history. I don't know enough about it, but thankfully there are people that do, who can help, and people who are willing to actually like expend their energy and time into kind of educating all of us, because, you know, we weren't taught it in school. Like I wasn't taught about Asian history in school. I don't know whether you guys were, but I don't know fuck all when it comes to
never
history.
Spoke about any of the you know, East Asian history. Didn't I mean, most I heard is, you know, mum came over here and dad came over here on a boat, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, There's just other people did the same thing from Vietnam and and China. So here we go. And yeah, it just feels like we were thrown into society, and our parents obviously they were just trying to find their place and trying to make their money and make a living. But I guess it's up to us as the kind of next generation to kind of actually you know, again, pave those steps forward so that we can actually have those conversations. Because for most of my life, I can put my hand up and say, I've been sleepwalking through the whole situation. Like all of these microaggressions that I've received, I'm just like, okay, cool. I guess this is how life is. But you know, it's played a part on how I've behaved. I'm sure it's you know, played a part in the way Lamb and yourself has behaved. Like it's definitely put a chip on my shoulder for the longest of times. And it's only like of recent, you know, the reason why we set up this podcast is just so that we could actually have an outlet to be like, hey, do any of you guys feel the same? Like this is what we feel. And then for other people who may be listening who are not East Asian, be like, oh wow, shit, they actually are hurting, or you know, they're going through these things. So it's absolutely beautiful that you are doing so much actually just to actually kickstart a movement. So it's I mean, even the petition, sorry, the word ran away from me a second. The petition was fantastic. Like, wow, I've never seen that many East Asians involved. Like in all of these, like, you know, Facebook groups and whatever, you know, you maybe a couple hundred, but never like into the thousands. So that's brilliant. But we really, you reckon we could hit the whole like 500,000 of East Asians in the UK? That would be brilliant. Like every single one of us on board. That would be fantastic.
It's quite interesting because like I'd love to get to that point, but like I think I mentioned this briefly, like when it comes to our own communities, like I've had Chinese people say to me like, no, I'm not signing this, like I think you're being sensitive and it's actually not a big deal. And like it's just so scary how like they don't realize that this impacts them too. Like it all comes together. Like the racism that you're receiving on the streets is largely perpetuated by these articles and the images connected to them. And it's like I found myself getting really angry and really defensive in my response, and I think I've definitely gone through that whole like almost like the cycle of grief type of thing, where I've like come to the acceptance stage of like, okay, we're not going to get everyone on board, that's not realistic, but what we want to do is you know, at least we are raising awareness. Like people before this petition were like, before we started talking about it, I was getting messages from people saying, I've never realized that this was an issue. Like even like Asian people were like, yeah, thank you for raising this, because before that I just kind of thought it was completely harmless and completely fine, but now I know about it. And so that is in itself is making a difference. You know, like we've not made any legal changes within the government yet, but in terms of like just having it on people's radar, like it's making a big impact already, and so hopefully that can continue.
Yeah, we just definitely just got to keep that momentum going, I guess, because that's what's really going to drive it.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it comes from a lot of us. We're BBCs, but we don't really know how we came to be BBCs. Like we don't really know the history of how we actually got here and why we got here and how that whole thing happens, because there's so many different stories, and obviously we're not the East Asian community in England. It's not a monolith. Like there's so many different reasons or how we got to this country. Like for me and you, Michael, we're Chinese Vietnamese, right? So we came from the boats from Vietnam. That was all because of the Vietnamese War, and sort of Chinese people in Vietnam were facing like more prejudice because Vietnam was going through this whole national wave, and it was just like put Vietnam first. So then Chinese people got prejudiced and they got discriminated against. So then they were forced to leave, and that's how we ended up in the UK. But I don't think enough people know that story to be like, okay, that's how we came to be here, and how that fits into their life. And same with so many other different East Asian communities. It's like obviously something happened on a geopolitical scale that made them have to come here. And I just don't think there's enough information about that, or history about that, or people talk about it enough, because it's so interesting. Just talking to my mum about it, talking to my grandma about it, like there's so many cool stories about how we got here.
So did you have grandparents come over as well then?
Yeah, so they moved when they were like obviously like 50, like quite old. They already had all their kids. But so my granddad, in the village he lived in, he was kind of like, he was the richest man there because he had
top man.
Well, yeah, he was well off, but still not like wealthy in terms of the Western world, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like, he owned like fishing boats and stuff. But then because that whole village was Chinese Vietnamese, they were seeing firsthand the sort of discrimination that they were getting. So before sending his own family to a country, I think it was Hong Kong first, he wanted to send his whole village first, and made sure everyone in the village got out okay first, before his family did. And for some reason, I'm not quite sure why, on the reasons how this happened. I need to ask my mum a bit more. But apparently the Vietnamese officials found out, and the Vietnamese police found what he was doing. And then he ended up getting arrested and then he was in prison for like, I don't know how long.
Oh my God.
Whoa,
yeah, it was literally because he was helping his village people like get out of the country. And then he had to go to prison for like a year or something.
Yeah.
And then my mum always says like it was because I think her older siblings had already left. So she was the oldest one in the family. So then she had to take like a train for an hour every day to see him. And then she would like have like a bag of food and she would like throw it over the wall, the prison wall.
Oh my gosh.
So sad.
And then my mum was like, I hated it. Every single day I had to do this. It was an hour long. I had to give food to my dad.
Yeah.
Like, Mum, you had to help your granddad. Like, you were trying to help the whole village. And she was like,
wow.
Oh my God, that is wild.
Yeah.
So he's a true activist then. You've got activism.
That's what I mean.
Then,
it's like crazy. It makes me
it's
feel
in your
so
blood.
Proud. Makes me feel proud.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But you know, like there's so many of these stories and it's just it will be amazing to hear more of these, you know. So just so we have a better ground of like where we came from and why we came from, and you know how we fit into this picture. Because me and you, Michael, we're here because of the Vietnamese War. If that didn't happen, we probably
be in Vietnam.
Exactly.
Ciao em.
That's it.
So do you speak any Vietnamese?
No, I learn a bit just because my fiance is Vietnamese. So I pick up phrases here and there. But at home, my mum and dad just speak Cantonese to me. But it's mad because my dad is so fluent in Vietnamese, like absolutely incredible. Like it's better than my fiance's. Like it's just fully.
Oh damn!
He's just.
And where did he grow up? He grew up
in Vietnam.
Right. Yeah.
But he was obviously Chinese and learned Mandarin in school, etc.
Yeah. That's cool.
All right. That was actually really. I just want to stop there and give you a round of applause, Viv, because in terms of what you're doing.
Applauding Michael then. I was about to applaud myself.
Fuck
okay,
Michael.
Fine. Yeah, well,
he always cusses my hair. He hasn't done nothing. His granddad did something. But make sure we're gonna link it down below. Besea.n, and make sure you get involved in the conversation as well. Do you have any advice, right, for the youth, for the Gen Zs? Like, what would you say to those the youngers? Like, how would you get them fired up? Because maybe some of these kids don't actually care and they're just Instagramming, TikToking.
Right. Okay. So I think I probably learned more from Gen Z than I have from any generation.
Oh.
They honestly, like I've seen on TikTok, they are so woke. They like just understand social issues without, they just know it. They just like, for some reason, like Gen Z, I feel like are the most like open-minded, socially aware generation, way more than us millennials are.
It's incredible how much they can read through the bullshit, you know?
Oh yeah, totally.
I remember when I was their age, just reading the news, and I would just like believe everything, and I would just suck it up, and I would just like, oh my god, this and that, and then my mind would just be completely warped. But it's amazing how clear they
Yeah.
can see the bullshit.
I don't know.
I
enough
can't
to-
give any advice. I can't give it because they're the ones advising me, if I'm being honest. Like I
That's
work
shocking.
with a lot of younger people.
They-
I also like just stuff I see on social media. I go on TikTok a lot. I have learned a lot from them. So I don't think I can give them any advice.
I mean,
Damn.
because I do taekwondo, and I'm one of the older ones there, and a lot of the kids who do it are like between, well, really young, but we have a lot of like teens who are like from 15 to 18, and it's incredible how sort of green they are, and like how aware they are of like climate change, and how much they think about it, and how much like it permeates their life. Like I was just like, I was not doing this when I was a teen. Like,
Yeah, it's wild.
it's mad.
So what we
Now
found
they're
out is
dissing
that
us,
we
though.
need the advice.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're dissing us now on TikTok.
yeah.
They're like making fun of us for like taking selfies like this when we should be taking them from below, like apparently. And like we shouldn't use crying, laughing emojis. That's not a thing anymore. We should be using the skull emoji, which means you're dead. Like, oh, I'm dead.
Oh yeah, 'cause
Wow.
it's so
There's
funny.
like
Yeah,
all
you're
these
dead.
little
Yeah.
nuances that they like pulled us up on.
Some of
It's so
them
true.
some of them are so offensive though. Like when they were cussing how obsessed we are with Harry Potter, I was just like, what? You said
Yeah.
that? I was like, huh?
Yeah.
When did
That's
this
so
become
funny.
not cool? And how
It's
some of them
so funny.
cuss friends, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like so old. Like,
I must definitely be out of the loop because I'm not experiencing any of this shame.
You need to connect yourself with some Gen Zers. Like that, I think they're the best generation. I have so much hope for the next generation because I feel like they're the ones that are going to be the wave makers, the change makers.
Wow,
Genuinely.
you've really got a different opinion than myself there because I haven't really.
Why? What do you reckon?
I haven't met any of these amazing Gen Zs that you're talking about that are fired me up for social injustice or telling me about these new nuances. Nah, maybe I'm just not in the right circles.
Yeah, like we say like, oh, they're on social media, they're just on TikTok, and like it feels like they're kind of, I don't know, not wasting their time. But actually, like if you look at just how, I think we've talked about it last time, like the K-pop community, for example, and how they drown the All Lives Matter hashtag by like sending K-pop lyrics on Twitter. That is a form of activism within itself.
That's
like they're so clever. It's so clever. And like we say like, oh, like they're just wasting time on there, but there's so much resource on TikTok that I've learned from in terms of our own histories and stuff. So like I think like it's just using social media as a tool, as a form of online activism, essentially, isn't it?
Yeah,
which I think is really clever.
I think with us, we've been the generation that kind of shifted and had the transition between a non-digital world and a digital world, whereas Gen Z have obviously grown up with only a digital world, and so the way they use social media, like we kind of just use it for like funny memes, and we just kind of like to message other people, whereas they understand the power of it and they understand the community of it, and they're just able to leverage the tool like way more powerfully than you could ever think of. And it's just, it's great.
They
great
just
to see.
they get the trends like straight, like in the office and stuff, when like people are talking about certain, like the Gen Z people are talking about trends and stuff. I'm like, how do you hear about this so quickly? But that in itself is so valuable, because I obviously, me working in influencer marketing and in social media, we have to consult our clients on what these trends are so they can then implement them. And so we don't know these things innately. It's like younger people who do. And so I've just learned so much by hearing about like, oh, what are you watching on TikTok at the moment? Oh, there's this amazing trend that X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, that could work as a format for something, for a brand. And so that actually, they're really they're so insightful. They're just on it. They just get it. And I have to be taught it. Like I had to ask someone who is, I think she's probably more millennial age, but I was like, I'm seeing all this WAP thing online. What does WAP stand for? And then like she was like, please don't make me say it, Viv, please. Michael, do you know what it means?
No, I don't.
You don't know?
All I know is that it's got something to do with Cardi B.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you should play it. Well, maybe not now. You play it now.
I had it on in the office apparently, but I was like completely oblivious. I wasn't even taking in the words. And then like the person who I work with, she was like, I wonder whether Viv can hear like all the words from that song, because it's very explicit, it's very rude, but it's so funny.
I saw a TikTok video of this girl recording her mum playing WAP for the first time. And then she was just like, at first she was just like this, and then it got to like 3 or 4 lyrics in, she was just like
It's brilliant. Have you seen the dance on TikTok?
That's all I saw. So that's all I saw. So that's all I know of it.
He's been practicing. Yeah,
I've been doing
You'll be seeing it soon.
No. We wanted to change the tone a little bit, because I know we've been talking a lot about activism. Sorry, I don't know why the words gone today. It's a bit too early for me. We had a guest on last week, Katie Wong, who was talking about attractiveness to like East Asian men. Do you have any thoughts on your attractiveness to East Asian men? Do you ever feel like there's been a transition at all in the years that you've been, or you just always love East Asian men, or don't love them at all? You're just you love everybody else. Like, fuck Chinese people.
Chinese people. No, definitely. I definitely think like a few years ago, I like was so anti East Asian men, and then like having to check myself and realize, Viv, that's your own internalized racism talking there. Like there is absolutely no reason for you to not like East Asian men. It's just because you hold those stereotypes, which are completely untrue. And then having to really challenge that, I think, has been very eye-opening for me. And like I think as I've gotten older, I have been obviously just way more open to who I would date. You know, I think we talked about this last time. Like I wouldn't base my preference on any particular ethnicity or anything at all. But I think like now I can see like there's just so many similarities when it could, like dating like another East Asian person. Like I think it would appeal to me if they aligned with everything else that I would look for in a guy. Because just of like just the understood lived experiences, you know, you don't even have to really explain it, you just kind of get it. So I think like when I was younger, I said some horribly racist things like about being Chinese, and like I did date one Chinese guy, but then the rest of my boyfriends have always been non-Asian, mainly white. And I think now I'm really open to it, but I just no East Asian guy has approached me, but I'm like, I'm keen. I'm like, yeah, where are they? I'm ready.
So there was a real transition. There was a real like transition where you thought, rah, I'm actually like really beating down on the East Asian men. Like, well, why? Like, what was your reasoning for not liking East Asian men?
It was those stereotypes and those tropes that were really damaging. Like, oh, all East Asian guys are like shy and like quiet and submissive and like not like manly, which like I think it's just not true. And it's a large part of it was the fact that I didn't know any as well. So I just assimilated this from what I read in the media and saw in the media, but I didn't know any. So how could I have come to those decisions? Like all I knew was like my family members, like my cousins and stuff who are amazing people. Like, so I don't know why I had come to that decision so quickly, you know, and so adamantly as well for so long.
It's I've started to notice how Asian men are being portrayed in the media as well, and it's crazy what you see once your eyes are open to it. I was watching an episode of 24 Hours of Dating. No, not 24 Hours of Dating. First Dates.
Yeah, I love First Dates.
So I saw there was an Asian guy on there for like the first time, like first Asian guy I've ever saw.
Yeah.
And he was dating. He was just with this white blonde-haired woman. And he was just like the most nerdiest, smallest guy. I think he was like 5'1". He wore glasses. It was really nerdy, and it was like, but his whole approach, it was just like he was completely asexual, and he was just like, I'm not interested in women. I'm not even interested in sex, and And I was just like, out of all the Asian guys, like you could have picked, like he's obviously not a representation of how we are in the community, but you guys decided to choose this one Asian guy who just like
Yeah.
fits every single stereotype so perfectly. And not just like every single stereotype, but it just went above and beyond the fact that he was asexual, like openly admitting that he was asexual. He had no interest in sex. And he wanted to go into a relationship where sex wasn't even part of it. And I was just like, that is so weird to like see on like a massive show like First Dates. It's like, out of all the Asian guys you could have chosen, you just decided to go with that guy, you know?
Yeah.
Could have got Henry
true,
Golding.
Is it?
Yeah, I was just like,
could have got Henry
crazy.
Golding. If they got Henry Golding to go on First Dates, I'm applying straight away.
Mate, if Henry Golding went on, I'd be applying as well.
Not gonna lie,
Yeah,
I'd apply just to be like, fuck you. Why couldn't I have done your role? You're like half. Like, let me get a full. Sorry. This is a long-standing hatred.
Have his face and his height, and then maybe you can get there.
Yeah, true say. And his handsomeness and his level of handsomeness. Yeah. I don't think this mustache and hair would go down well on First Dates. But I'm taken, so it's never in my thought process. Yeah.
Disclaimer: I'm taken.
Yeah. I'm not trying to get shanked out here. I guess one last thing that we would love to ask you about, because obviously it's definitely popping up a little bit more, and this is probably heading a little bit more back into the kind of the space we were before. But so, what are your thoughts on the new Mulan?
So I've seen so much on Twitter about this, and I've read quite a few articles about it. So
have you seen it yourself yet?
No, I haven't seen it because I don't want to pay $30 or however much it is to watch it. I've already got Disney Plus, but I'm going to have to pay extra for it.
Yeah.
You have to pay extra to watch Mulan.
Yeah.
Oh,
they weren't just gonna give it for free.
Oh, I thought the whole Disney Plus thing was you're gonna get it for free.
Nah.
Well, that's what I thought too when I shelled out however much it is. But I'm so conflicted because £6 so expensive.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Times are tough, guys. So like, I thought it was great because we're seeing a Disney movie which has like a Chinese woman as the starring lead, like, and I thought that was going to do really great things, and I was super excited when I first saw that it was coming out, and I saw the trailer, and then I think, like anything, it just became political, didn't it? You know, seeing how like the lead actress supports police brutality in Hong Kong, and how she's very adamant of that, and just how seeing a lot of people talk about historically how they've not depicted Mulan in the way that she is historically, how she was historically known, and how there's so many issues with like how they're represented. That's when like it becomes really conflicting, because I wouldn't say no, I'm not going to watch it, because I still think like, okay, it's probably going to do great things for East and Southeast Asian communities, but then at the same time it's also damaging as well in a lot of ways, because she is pro supporting the police, and then that becomes its own political issue in itself. And as she's a Hong Kong person, like, and I have a lot of ties to Hong Kong, being from Hong Kong, my family are from Hong Kong, so it becomes political, and so I'm very conflicted in like my inner child being like, I just want to watch a Disney film and enjoy it for what it is.
It just whenever something I don't know, it always seems like it's so complicated to just have an East Asian movie about like Chinese culture. There's always so many layers to it, and invariably it always just becomes political. What I'd say is with the animated version, the 98 version, I think it was good because obviously they weren't trying to be historical. Like there was a lot of creative license to fit it into the Disney mold, right? And it was a great movie. But I think now they were they outwardly said they're trying to pivot towards a more historical interpretation of Mulan, and they were trying to tap into the Chinese market and say, we're going to create a movie that's both appealing to the Chinese market and the US market as well. And I think they just failed like so miserably, because you just read so many things and it just wasn't actually historically accurate at all. And sort of the themes that they were trying to push for Chinese audiences was just basically a trope, and like cliche, and just something they've heard like 1,000 million times, and it just didn't have the impact that they were expecting.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a shame because, I think they were just crossed in two minds of how to do it. It's like, are we going to pander to the Chinese market and make it really suitable for their audiences, or are we going to try and pander it to the Western market where they prefer things to be, the themes to be a bit more different? And they kind of just like was stuck in the middle and didn't really know how to go. And then it just kind of ended up falling flat on both sides, which is a real shame.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I just wonder how many like actual East and Southeast Asian people behind the scenes were actually involved in the making of it, because if it was predominantly a white production company who produced this and everything.
Apparently it was zero. Like, I
fucking hell. And that just again just proves how like that's where there's so many pitfalls in the media, in film industry, because how can we expect for them to get historically the armor right, from the right period, and the costumes right, if we don't even have if they don't even employ any East and Southeast Asian consultants or people who know about that kind of time period. It just fucking shows like systemic racism is everywhere. So I'm conflicted. Like, if I can watch it somewhere where I don't have to pay.
Well, it's free.
Little Chinese boxes.
It's free in January. I think they're just gonna release it. On Disney Plus. So maybe
I'm not in any rush. I'm not in any rush to watch it. What about you guys?
I actually saw it back in March. I went to the premiere then, but I wasn't allowed to say anything. But I'm such a fan of the cartoon one that I just had apart from obviously all the political side, as a creator, as somebody who's like a fan of Mulan, man, it just fell short for me. It didn't have that nostalgia. It didn't hit the right notes for me, and I fell asleep.
Did you? You fell asleep in it?
That boring.
Shit.
Yeah. There's a part where the dad is talking to Mulan before she takes up the sword and whatnot, and I was like, wow, this is really slow and really like, I'm so bored. There's no excitement. It obviously took a more realistic feel to it, and obviously I just love the magic and the essence of the old one, and they got
rid of the two best songs. They got rid of the Donny Osmond "Make a Man Out of You." Like,
well, did they? What was the other song?
Reflection.
They took that out.
I think so. Yeah. Well, it's not. They don't sing it, right?
It wasn't a musical. There's
no singing in it.
Yeah. So it was just like you would hear it. Oh, there's an ice cream truck. I don't know if you lot can hear
that. I can hear that. So early.
Out the window.
It's too cold for ice cream. It's too cold. They just played the songs as like instrumentals in the background. So it was like, but it didn't have that wow factor. So I was really, really missing out. But there were some really cool scenes with like her like shooting an arrow backwards on a horse, but techers. But apart from that, it felt really, really.
That is a low bar if that's the highlight of the movie, man. Shooting an arrow backwards.
Yeah. Honestly, like that's probably one of the more memorable scenes. So it fell short, but I would say it's worth a watch just to understand, what's being created out there. But okay. Well,
it's a bit of a shame.
It seems that it's
like a missed opportunity.
Bad shame. Well, let's make it a bit more fun now. I'm going to take it over to Lam, who we've started a new segment with our guests, which we will be having actually, I'll let Lam explain to you.
Lam looked lost then. You were like, what? What is this?
No, I think the way he transitioned was just funny to me. It was just like, I'm going to move it over to Lam now.
Yeah, I love shifting things.
Cool. Well, basically, it's just a new segment where we just ask really quick fire questions, and you just got to answer like as quick as possible.
Oh, I love this.
Just say like the first thing that comes to your head.
Okay.
Right. And then we'll probably just make a few comments or cuss you. So yeah, don't worry. Here you go.
I'm scared.
We could take away your Asian card.
No.
Right. All right,
Okay.
here we go.
So, would you rather tarsiel or roast duck?
Tarsiu.
Tarsiel, definitely.
I had roast duck last night, actually,
Yes.
but Tarsiu. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Tarsiel's actually, I don't know. I don't know about that one. Why wasn't seal yolk on there, bruv? Because that's better. I feel
I don't
better
know,
than
fam.
both
We
of them.
agreed.
Isn't cereal
okay.
just like roast meat?
It's the roast pork one. The
The pork
barbecue.
belly.
No,
Oh,
the
pork belly.
sorry,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ho, 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 ho.
My mum made a roast duck in the air fryer last night. A whole
Damn.
massive roast duck in an air fryer. It was so nice. She
Damn, I
marinated
didn't
it
know that
all.
was
It was
possible.
perfect. So many air fryer recipes now online. It's great.
Yeah, I see a lot on
You
TikTok.
can make all sorts. Dumplings, everything.
Lamb, get one. Sort it out. Let's do it.
I might have to invest. My kitchen's kind of small though, so
Doesn't
think
take up
about
that
it.
much space.
So you got a
Okay.
massive living room.
All right. Okay. Cool. Next one.
Put it in the living room.
Would you rather Chinese tea or English tea?
Depends on the mood. English tea.
English tea.
No, wait.
Oi.
Chinese tea for dim sum. English tea for when I'm like in the office.
Right.
So it depends.
Okay. So you want to be more
out that
Chinese.
All right.
You want to be more
That is
Chinese
hard.
in the Chinese situation, and you want to be more
Yeah.
English in the English situation.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just being
Assimilating.
Yeah, assimilating. Yeah, exactly.
Fitting into the culture.
Not gonna lie, I would like English tea.
Okay. Another tough one. Would you rather dim sum or a Sunday roast?
Dim sum.
Dim sum.
Oh, I love a Sunday roast though,
Yes.
but dim sum. I always crave dim sum way more.
There was a
Way more.
correct answer there. There was.
Okay, thank you. What if I said a Sunday roast?
Oh.
End call.
Right.
Bye.
So, do you prefer Chinatown in Manchester or Chinatown in London?
Quick. 3, 2.
London. But
Oh.
then because there's more choice, there's more like interesting things. Whereas like Chinatown in Manchester, there's like lots of like nostalgia there. I grew up there. My mum and dad worked there before they started their own restaurant takeaway. But then London, there's just like way more choice and like just many more exciting things. Mainly food, basically more food.
Obviously, London beats all. Bang bang.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
Well, I wouldn't say that. But
You sound like you're from London.
not rent wise. Rent wise, bloody hell doesn't beat all, does it?
Oh yeah. How
This is a
and-
really
and
difficult
house
Come up
prices.
north. Come up north,
And
and
house
you
prices,
could
for
get
sure.
you could get a 4-bedroom house what you live in London.
Yeah, defo.
Okay. Here's a fun one. Would you rather date a Hong Kong banker or a Vietnamese drug lord?
So many perks with the Vietnamese drug lord.
Neither. So many what perks? What perks do you get?
Well, they're
Vietnamese
both
drug lord?
rich.
Yeah.
They're both
They're
rich.
both rich.
Okay. Yeah.
Vietnamese drug lord, you're gonna have a wild lifestyle. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, he'll probably have
You're gonna get all the good as well as the
just
occasional.
bare legs, and it just
murder.
like so many
Yeah, but
youngers.
it's illegal though. It's illegal, and like, what if he goes into jail and I've got to raise the kids by myself?
But the HK banker
Like-
is gonna be obviously super boring
But
gonna
hella
be
rich, hella
and
rich.
hella
Hella
rich.
rich.
Yeah.
And it's not and it's
And it
not
is
illegal. And it's legal.
yeah.
It's legal. But he's going to be so boring.
Oh,
But then, are they nice people? Like, I don't care about the money as long as are they nice? Will they treat
they're
me
nice.
well?
They're
they're the nicest people you've ever met.
LGBTQ
Yeah.
supportive.
Vietnamese drug lord supports
BLM supporting.
BLM
yeah,
supporters, yeah.
you know,
All of that.
donates to charities.
Very, very progressive.
Oh,
This is supposed to be like really quick fire.
Yeah. 3.
sorry.
2.
Okay, Hong Kong
1.
banker, but even
Hong Kong
then,
banker.
that's like scraping, like reluctantly marrying him.
Oh,
That's good. I'm
Reluctantly.
glad you chose the legal side, you know.
just like
too
the
illegal.
better of 2 shit options. It seems. Going lamb. Next one. This one's this one's dangerous.
This one could be
These are funny.
well, chopsticks or fork.
Chopsticks, like you can like scramble eggs with them, you can cook with them, you can then eat with them, you can
Yeah.
poke stuff with it. Like that's so versatile.
Do you I know so
What
many
way?
people that eat crisps with chopsticks. Are you
Yeah,
one of those?
yeah.
Yeah.
If the crisps are like cheesy crisps or spicy crisps that will leave like a stain on your fingers, yes.
Techers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start
Very
doing that.
effective.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing that. I've never done that before.
So resourceful. I love it, man. It's
It
just,
just
like,
seems
you don't get your
effort.
hands dirty.
Yeah,
No,
man,
okay,
it's so
it makes
easy.
sense. It makes sense. It makes sense.
Great idea.
If you got 10 out of 10 chopstick skills, it's a piece of cake.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Easy. Right. Last one. Would you prefer to speak fluent Mandarin or Cantonese?
Mandarin, because
Mandarin.
I can just see how that would benefit business so much more.
Yeah.
Thinking
It
about
would
the
open
money
you
there.
up so much.
Think about the money. But then also with Cantonese, I do wish that, because I can speak it okay, but like there's so many words I don't know. My tone is awful, but I think I can get by with speaking it with my family. Well, so if I spoke Mandarin, I wouldn't be able to speak Cantonese at all. Is that how, like, I'd lose my Cantonese side?
Do you speak Cantonese as good as you do now?
Oh yeah, they're all Mandarin then, 100%.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to lose any Cantonese though.
Yeah.
I get to keep that. Okay, cool. Just
I
checking.
would definitely want to speak Mandarin.
Oh, you missed one
It's so
there.
useful.
You missed one. Dude, this one's a fun one. I like this one.
Okay, would you rather Lacey or a tax rebate?
Probably. Well, tax rebates are usually shit though, aren't they?
It depends. It depends.
Well, and it depends which auntie is giving you the Lacey as well.
Yeah.
Lacey feels more special. Yeah, it depends which rich auntie. Yeah, I think Lacey feels more special.
So, my thought process
it?
around this was tax rebate is money that you're supposed to get back anyway. It's your money. But see, the Lacey is a gift, and that could be like, some people out here get like up to $1,000. Like I've never heard of that much for me. Like I usually get £1 to £5, £10.
Well, my Lacey max has been 20 quid.
So really, I've had 50 quid back in the day, but like times have been tough. Yeah, I've had 50 quid, but then like but it's definitely, I think, like the financial crisis, it's dipped a bit. But Michael, wait till you get married. Michael, wait till you get married, and oh my god, it's gonna be, you're gonna cover the cost of your wedding.
Really?
Like
Damn.
my sister got married, and she was just like, oh my lord, like there's so much.
See, my fiance, she's like, don't worry, it will definitely cover the costs.
But
then I know my uncles, right? And they're so like, but they're so old fashioned. They'll be like, well, back when it was in my days, I was only paying 60 quid or like 50 quid for a seat. So that's all I'm going to pay.
What? No. But
You know
then times have changed though.
Yeah, but they don't change.
Just do it on the cheap. Do it like registry office. Like, just do it on the cheap.
Yeah. We'll go sit in the park. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Pay for the seats there.
Yeah, you still need to pay. Just you got to sit in the park.
Yeah. 100. Social distancing as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you know when you get married?
I don't. So it was supposed to be in July, and then
sorry,
it kind of just got cancelled, and then we just haven't really thought about it since. So we don't know when it's going to happen. Maybe it won't happen. Maybe we just stay engaged forever.
I mean, there's no harm in that. You're engaged forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Engaged forever. That's beautiful.
It's just a document, right? I mean, our life won't change so much.
There's some tax benefits, isn't there?
Yeah, but I've never been too sure what they are.
Me neither.
We need to get clued benefits up.
Yeah, well, I definitely should. Great. Well, that was the segment.
Yay!
I loved it. Yay!
Boom.
That was really fun.
That is pretty much it for the podcast. Are there any last words from yourself, Viv?
Stay safe, stay happy. Go follow Besea.n. It's BESEA.n on Instagram, and then the same but with an underscore on Twitter.
Yep, we'll link it in the description.
We'll link it down below. And we just really want to thank you for coming onto our podcast so early on a Saturday, and also thank you for having us on yours.
Sounds good.
That is all. So thank you very much, Viv, and bye.
Thank you for having me.